This conversation features Dr. Paul Hewitt, who delves deeply into the nature, origins, manifestations, and treatment of perfectionism. The discussion explores perfectionism as a pervasive personality style rooted in feelings of inadequacy and flawed self-worth. Various dimensions of perfectionism are examined, along with its impact on relationships, mental health, and performance. Dr. Hewitt unpacks therapeutic approaches and the complexities of disentangling perfectionism from healthy ambition and achievement. Dr. Hewitt presents perfectionism as a deeply ingrained personality style formed early in life. At its core lies a persistent belief of "I am not enough," accompanied by a sense of flaw or defectiveness. This leads individuals to relentlessly strive for perfection, to appear flawless or entirely avoid imperfection, in an effort to gain acceptance, love, or a sense of belonging. Rather than simply acknowledging personal shortcomings, this drive functions as a coping mechanism to mask or rectify perceived fundamental inadequacies. Perfectionism often arises from early relational disruptions or unmet needs, described through the lens of attachment theory and psychodynamic self-development. Children who encounter caregivers incapable of consistently attuning to their emotional needs may internalize an asynchrony or mismatch, resulting in a fragile self-concept. From this place, children develop the belief that they must be more impressive or perfect to secure love and care. This childhood strategy is an elegant but ultimately inadequate solution to existential fears of unworthiness and social exclusion. Living with perfectionism entails a harsh, critical internal dialogue, a relentless interrelational style that is often far more abusive than the way these individuals relate to others. This self-critical voice scrutinizes performances, mistakes, and minor flaws in exhausting detail, creating a hostile mental environment. Unlike external relationships, this internal dialogue offers no compassion or allowance for imperfection, fostering ongoing distress and self-judgment. The discussion clarifies that what is often labeled as healthy perfectionism is more accurately described as striving for excellence, conscientiousness, or high achievement, motivated by growth rather than self-repair. Toxic perfectionism, by contrast, is fundamentally driven by a need to fix an underlying sense of being flawed. Healthy ambition pushes the self toward new heights, while perfectionism attempts to correct existential deficits. This distinction hinges on the core motivation, not merely outward behaviors or standards. A critical challenge for perfectionists is the fusion of self-worth with performance or achievement. For many, success and failure are equated directly with their value as a person, creating a fragile sense of identity vulnerable to fluctuations in outcomes. Unlike highly resilient high performers who differentiate their being from their doing, perfectionists often see themselves solely through the lens of achievement, deepening internal suffering when outcomes fall short. Achievement does not relieve perfectionism. It temporarily soothes, but ultimately fails to erase the underlying self-doubt. Even success can be reinterpreted negatively as evidence that one had to work too hard or that it was not perfect enough. Failure, conversely, confirms feelings of inadequacy. This dynamic drives a self-perpetuating cycle of escalating demands, with success raising the standards to an ever more unattainable height. Dr. Hewitt outlines multiple interrelated dimensions: self-oriented perfectionism, demanding perfection from oneself; other-oriented perfectionism, expecting perfection from others; and socially prescribed perfectionism, believing others expect perfection from oneself. Additionally, individuals may seek to appear perfect outwardly, either by promoting a flawless image or by concealing imperfections completely. These dimensions interact and manifest uniquely across individuals. Perfectionism shares some features with narcissism, particularly in the interpersonal domain, where projecting an image of flawlessness is a defense against perceived inner defectiveness. However, perfectionists tend to be painfully aware of their imperfections, whereas narcissists may be more delusional about their own perfection. Perfectionism also intersects with traits such as neuroticism and depression, and is linked to various psychological and physical health problems, including elevated stress and increased risk of early mortality. The interpersonal challenges of perfectionism include difficulty with intimacy, vulnerability, and authentic connection. Other-oriented perfectionism, in particular, can strain relationships because the perfectionist expects flawless behavior from partners, family members, or colleagues. This dynamic often leads to emotional distance, conflict, and alienation, ironically undermining the very connection perfectionists desperately seek. To others, perfectionists may seem distant, guarded, or insincere because of their reluctance to reveal imperfections. Attempts to gain acceptance by projecting perfection often backfire, leading to others' withdrawal or discomfort. Even strategies of performative vulnerability can feel inauthentic or elicit skepticism, making genuine closeness elusive. Perfectionism arises from an ambient existential fear related to unworthiness and not belonging. This fear propels the need for control, predictability, and flawless presentation. The prospect of relinquishing perfectionism triggers anxiety and uncertainty because it entails confronting a previously empty or unsafe sense of self. Therapy aims to guide individuals through this void toward alternative ways of finding worth and connection. Effective treatment of perfectionism involves psychodynamic therapy, focusing on the underlying relational needs for worth and belonging rather than purely symptom reduction. Building a therapeutic alliance provides a safe space for clients to expose vulnerabilities and internalized criticism. Cognitive behavioral approaches, while commonly applied, often yield limited long-term change, particularly in deeply ingrained trait and self-relational aspects. Treatment is an experiential learning process rather than a straightforward intellectual or behavioral fix. While perfectionism can feel like an immutable part of identity, recovery is possible, but requires willingness to pay the price of suffering that comes with letting go of familiar coping mechanisms. Change involves developing self-acceptance, differentiating self-worth from performance, and cultivating authentic connections with others. The process is gradual and deeply emotional, but can lead to lasting improvements in quality of life. A fundamental component in overcoming perfectionism is experiencing mattering, the sense that one is important and valued by others. This relates closely to self-worth, respect, and love. Perfectionism often attempts to compensate for early experiences of invisibility or neglect by striving for external validation, but true healing requires internalizing intrinsic worth. Research suggests that perfectionism traits have increased over recent decades, potentially contributing to rising rates of anxiety, depression, and related disorders. Cultural factors, media, and societal expectations may fuel this trend by glamorizing flawless achievement and linking identity tightly to performance. This escalation highlights a growing public health concern and the need to promote healthier conceptions of worth and success. Supporting someone with perfectionism involves encouraging professional help and offering patience and understanding. Because perfectionism is complex and deeply ingrained, casual advice or surface-level encouragement is often insufficient. A therapeutic relationship that fosters safety and honest exploration is crucial to help perfectionists navigate their fears and develop new, more adaptive ways of relating to themselves and others.